Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Telugu Bros Film Podcast. We're back with another episode today, and this time we're reviewing the movie Kingdom, starring Vijay Devarakonda, which released yesterday. Me and Karthik went out to watch it on the opening day, and let's get started. So let's start with the very first segment, which is the 30-second plot punch. So the movie's about during the British era in the 1920s. A group of tribal people living across the Srikakulam coast are brutally killed by British officers, including their king and leader. A handful manage to escape to an island near Sri Lanka, and one kid that has escaped is given the responsibility to find their new king. 70 years later, Suri, who's played by Vijay Devarakonda, a police constable who lives with his mom, for years he searches for his older brother, who he's very close to, but his older brother had to run away from home when he was 10 years old after he killed his alcoholic father who abused his family. Suri, Vijay Devarakonda, is presented with the opportunity to take up an undercover spy mission where he needs to take down a smuggling cartel, which is based in Sri Lanka, and his brother ends up being the leader of the group. He takes on the mission to bring back his brother home, but he's forced to confront family loyalty, his duty as an officer, and also what destiny has in store for him. So let's jump into the next segment now, which is the out of the theater mic moment. Karthik, I'm going to pass it to you. You just walked out of the theater. Someone puts a mic in your face. What are your thoughts on this movie?
I can't remember the last time I was this disappointed after seeing a decent movie.
That is a really good summary of very similar things that I felt during this movie. My out of the theater mic moment is I was afraid Vijay Devarkonda would disappoint me, but Gautam Tinanuri surprised me by disappointing, which is not what I expected to happen.
Yeah.
Okay. That's my out of the theater mic moment on that. So the next section is we go and rate the performances of the main people that had a contribution to the movie. So that's going to be the director, Vijay Devarakonda, Satyadev, who plays the older brother character, Bhagyashree, who plays the actress of the movie, and also Vijay Devarakonda's love interest, and then Venkatesh, who is the villain in the movie, and then also Anirudh as well from the music side. And the way this section works is we're going to give them a letter grade. It's going to be, your classic school grade like A, B minus, B plus, F if they're really bad. So I'm going to start with you, Karthik, on this. You're going to start with your lowest grade, and then you're going to work up to your highest grade.
Okay. So the lowest grade, I'll just get this one out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Bhagyashree, the actress, I give her a C. She has a
Mm-hmm.
total screen time of 5 minutes. I think that's self-explanatory. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Next, I give Gautam Tenamuri, the director, a B minus. I think he assembled a great technical crew. The cinematography and production design is top notch for an Indian movie. He got good acting from everyone, but his screenplay lacks the emotional hook and it needed a little extra care. So B minus for him. Anirudh, I give a B. He delivered what was expected. I think the director didn't fully take advantage of the score that Anirudh delivered. Next is Satyadev. I give him a B. He has little screen time, but he connects with you emotionally. Like his family and his son, like that, it worked for me in the little screen time they have. And I genuinely wanted what's best for his character. Next, I give Vijay a B plus. This is his best, or this is his second best performance since Arjun Reddy. I think he's on average gotten better as an actor, and he did well in the fight scenes, which previously I don't think he did well in fight scenes at all. Like he's much better in this movie for fights than Liger, which is funny because Liger is a movie about fighting. So yeah. Finally, I give Venkatesh a B plus, the villain. Um, he was given somewhat of a stereotypical villain role, but I actually think he did a really good job. And like you are interested in the movie every time he's on screen. Like he delivers more than I expected. Like I didn't know about this actor. Now I'm like a fan of this actor. Okay, now it's you. What are your rankings?
First of all, I love your rankings. I feel like we have very similar rankings, which you'll notice. Okay. So I also gave Gautam Tenanuri a B minus. He created a really interesting world. Of course, you can point to elements of Rangastalam, Salar for the bond between the two brother type characters being the driving force, while they have a village or a tribe they have to save. But the movie still felt uniquely like his own movie. The writing in the first 20 minutes before Suri accepts the mission is super sharp. But after he accepts the mission and enters the island, I feel he failed to have the audience feel the conflict that the two brother characters are going through that would have made the audience feel for what they're going through, but it fell flat. I think this movie, actually, with some change of the screenplay and editing, could have actually achieved something really great. And I think that could have been done with like doing better capturing of emotions. Next up, I'll give Anirudh the B minus. I think it's great that we get a rare Anirudh album where he sings 3 of the songs in Telugu. So, which is great. I love when Anirudh sings in Telugu, but I don't think it's going to be a memorable album. But they're great for the situations with the movie. I feel Anirudh was not used for his BGM capabilities. I don't know if that falls on Gautam or if that falls on Anirudh, but I feel like there's actually a great BGM for this movie, but they didn't actually use it in the movie that much. I say B for Satyadev as well. He was really believable as Vijay Devarakonda's brother in this role, and someone who you could believe could stand against Vijay Devarakonda and like his view of the world really well. In some of the shots, he looked like Vijay to me, like from the movie, like Leo, like just his look. Like I thought he looked really good. I gave Bhagyashree a B. I felt like she did a good role in the 5 minute screen time she was given. I I just don't think she was given enough scope. The thing I liked more was the character was her being an undercover cop, I think was a nice touch as opposed to just being the classic doctor in the village that the hero falls for. So I think that was cool. I give a B plus for the villain, Venkatesh as well. I think he was really charismatic on the screen, like whenever he was there. And then B plus also for Vijay Devarakonda. I actually think this is his best performance to date because having seen a lot of Vijay Devarakonda interviews, I think in the movie Arjun Reddy he just played himself, and like I think in this
Yeah.
movie he actually had to like play a character. So I think this is his best performance to date. So I think that'll be the takeaway from this movie is that it might not have been the hit he wanted, but this is his best performance to date. So next up is recasting. So I'll go first, actually. This was tough for me. I actually couldn't think of a recasting for this movie at all. I don't think the casting was the problem for this movie at all. Did you have any recastings?
No, I didn't actually. I thought they casted perfectly with the
Mm-hmm.
budget they have. I mean, funnily, I think you can put Rana Dagubati in any movie and it would work. um,
That should be a separate section of this podcast. Like, could Rana Dagubati be a character in this movie? Just a
yeah,
recurring theme in
like
every
he could
podcast
play a
episode.
villain role. He could play like the brother, like anything. Like you can
Mhm.
throw anything at Rana. I did not have any recasting for this. I think one of Gautam Tenamuri's like strengths is he takes good care of all these like details. Like the casting in Jersey is really good. The casting in this movie is really good. Like the crew, the production team, everybody is like top notch.
I agree with you. He did a really good job with the casting and like even the technical team as well. So, who do you think carried the film? I'll let you go first on this one.
I think who carried the movie is um the villain role, Venkatesh. I think
Mm.
that could have been really like stereotypical. It could have been, kind of like an annoying villain role. Like we've seen a lot of villains in these like post Bahubali world of like pan India movies, and these villains don't really like hook you like as an audience member. But I thought like in this movie, this like small frame villain who's kind of like seen as this weakling from his father is able to have such a like strong impact when every time he's on screen and carry this like I would say like scary aura around him. I thought he did well. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with you. So my takeaway on this is I think Vijay Devarakonda carried the first half and then Venkatesh the villain carried the second half of the movie through to completion. Like he was really good. He was a surprise for me as well. Because you're right, like on these big pan India movies, I actually don't love the villains in the big pan India movies, like in KGF. I didn't love Sanjay Dutt and Salar. There's so many casts of villains. It's like hard to even pick one. Yeah, in this one, like in Pushpa, you get good villains, and in this one, you got like
Yeah,
a good villain as well. So I
but
think,
I would say in Pushpa, like sometimes you, in I don't know, some people felt like Fahad Fazil's character was downplayed a bit.
yeah,
You
like
don't
almost
have
like
that here.
you don't have that here, and you actually see great moments of him like being emotional and showing signs of weakness. And I love that whole sequence of like his father telling him to like you know like wipe his face of tears, and then that like tear metaphor actually ends up playing into the rest of the sequences where he is wiping his tears. He takes like kind of a bath in the pool, and then he
Yeah,
finally ends up killing his father character by drowning him in the pool as like a symbolic way of saying like, oh, you want me to wipe my tears off, like let me just
yeah, yeah.
literally kill you in this water, right? I'm pointing out the obvious, but this is like good writing that also builds to the character's
No, I
arc.
didn't catch that. That was good writing.
Mhm. I thought that was really good. Okay, so next up is the overacting award. So I'll go first on this one. I don't think there's a lot of overacting in this movie, but if I had to pick one, I'll have to give it to like the old wise sage character in the tribe. I
Yes,
mean, those characters just have to overact. I
yeah,
feel they always have to have a deep like bass voice, and they always have to like have big eyes to look at the screen. I want someone to like rewrite that trope. I don't know how, but it seems like it always looks like they're overacting by
yeah.
making them do that. What was yours?
I think so. I gave Vijay a good rating. I gave him a B plus. But I think if I had to pick an over actor, it's Vijay.
Hmm.
Mainly because there's a few sequences where he's randomly screaming for no reason, and he's also like raising his arm at the interval, and you're like, why is he doing this? You know, like that's where I would go with overacting. But again, like everyone's performances were so composed. You know.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you on that. There was a sequence in the prison fight where Vijay just yells. They kind of justify it a little bit in the over audio where he's like, "Hey, I'll make as much noise as needed to get my brother's attention," which they used to just
Yeah.
justify as screaming, but he does look like he's also scream crying, which yeah, it's a
I
you know.
think they were going for the Jersey scream at the train station moment, but it just didn't land in this. Like it made no sense him screaming in this prison.
Mhm. I agree. I agree with you on that. So the next up is the frame of fame, which is what was our favorite shot in the movie? I'll go first since we're on topic. I think my favorite shots in the movie was actually in the prison sequence that we're talking about. And I would say it's actually not the prison sequence itself. It's actually the sequence right before the fight starts when they're playing cards. It was a scene of like comic relief. It had good dialogues and it set the stage for the fight. But I just kind of like the setup of like those characters sitting on the ground, they're playing cards, and you could see that Vijay Devarakonda's character is up to something. I don't know. That to me was just like a good setup, like a good moment of Gautam Tirunuri like writing that I just enjoyed. So yeah, that to me was like the most memorable just sequence in the movie. And the rest of the sequence was I think Gautam Tirunuri trying to make the most visual impact in the entire movie was that sequence. I think it landed like those punches Vijay Devarakonda does in those next sequences. That is really well directed. Like those
Yeah.
punches, Vijay looks good, but also just like really good crisp editing in those sequences too. So that'd be the one for me.
Yeah. I would say the prison sequences was great. I would say the heist was also really well shot. Like the scenes in the forest looked visually appealing. But my like best shot I would say was with Vijay and Satyadev when they're at the shipping dock or like the dockyard and they have like an emotional moment. I thought that scene looked great and it also like was a really well written scene. Maybe in streaming when you watch it at home it might come off as a little cheesy, but in the theater I thought it actually worked really well.
Yeah, I thought it worked really well too, and it showed a different side of Vijay Devarakonda's character being a little bit more vulnerable. So Vijay Devarakonda is interesting as a character, like as a actor that picks scripts. Like on one scene, he's like this chill guy, but then he'll do something Arjun Reddy where he's like holding the actress's neck because she says something that angers him. But then another scene in the movie, which you're referencing, like he gets caught on this lie that he tells Satyadev, and Satyadev is mad at him, but then he turns into like this little child that's like, "Hey, don't leave me, like please don't leave me, older brother," kind of
Yeah,
character.
yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting how he chooses, but yeah, I agree because he falls to that place where he's like that inner child in him comes out. That scene was really good too. That was a contender for me as well. Um, the next segment is soundtrack shakedown. So it could be your favorite audio moment or your least favorite audio moment in the movie. Um, I'll let you go first.
My favorite audio moment is whenever the Anante like theme plays. I think it works really well. Um, that's probably the highlight of Anirudh's BGM for me. What about you?
For me, it was also Anandene. Like, I think it captures the soul of the movie, right? Where that's what the entire movie's about. And I was actually listening to all three songs today to pick which one was my favorite. So one of the songs was completely dropped from the movie,
Yeah.
probably for a good reason. But yeah, I think Anandene is the best one. It's got good lyrics. It's like the heart of the movie. So the next section is behind the scenes buzz. I'm curious if we have the same exact one, but I'll go first. So Ramcharan was actually the first person considered for this role in this movie. And because of dates and conflicts, things didn't work out. And then Vijay Devarakonda was the second person offered this movie and he actually took it on. So I'm curious if you think, before you share your behind the scenes buzz, I'm curious if you think this movie would have been better with Ramcharan or the same or worse.
I think it would be worse with Ramcharan because they would have to do more like mass elements for Ramcharan's like bigger stature as a hero, right? I think having Vijay Devarakonda allows Gautam to make a more like small scale, emotional, more composed film. Um, yeah, I think Ramcharan would have taken the scale a bit too high.
Hmm.
What do
I
you think?
agree. I agree with you 100%. I think this movie works way better with Vijay Devarkonda for the exact reasons you outlined. So,
Yeah, again, I wouldn't recast any of this.
same. Satyadev was such a good casting for this. Like,
Yeah.
perfect casting. Yeah. What about you? What's your behind the scenes buzz?
So we don't have the same one. One thing I learned is that the movie has cinematographers. So Girish Gangadharan and Jamon John. So interestingly, this movie has so many production delays that Girish had to leave to go make Coolie. So now I'm really excited for the good visuals in Coolie.
Interesting. Okay. That's exciting. This movie looked really good.
This movie looked
And
really good. Yeah.
whichever sequences they both shot, both of them did a great job. And
Yeah.
that's interesting. The movie never looked stylistically off from any parts in the entire thing. So somehow they like did a good job pulling that together. Um, I'm expecting a lot more red tones in Cooley because
Yeah.
Lokesh loves that.
Yeah. I
So,
expect that.
mhm. Okay. So next up is the Twitter verdict. So Karthik's going to read off two tweets from the internet that are real, and he's going to inject one fake one. And my job is to guess which one is the fake one.
So I only have one fake and one real.
Okay, fair enough.
So first of all, I'm gonna speak in Telugu for one of them. And apologies for any, foul language if somebody gets offended by this. But okay, first one, Vijay trying to fast track being a pan India star by mixing Salar, KGF, and Devara into one story. Okay. The other one, ఆ ముష్టి 30 మందికి ఒక కింగ్డమ్ దానికి వీడు ఒక రాజు. What do you think is the real one? What do you think is the fake one?
I really hope you wrote the second one, but I know you wrote the first one. But the second one is amazing. It's super super good. If you think about it from a bigger spectrum, he doesn't have much of a tribe.
Yeah,
He's
he
got
doesn't.
like
Yeah.
too real. Too real. Too real. Okay. That was a
Yeah.
good one. I'm glad you found that one and you shared that. Okay. So next up is the IMDb trap. So this is what you think is the IMDb rating for this movie without having seen it. I've seen it, so I'll let you know how close you are.
Okay, so I think the fans will be reasonable here. I think it'll be 6.2.
What are you, some kind of
Wait,
like a
seriously?
genius? Your 6.3 was the answer.
Nice. Yeah.
That's really good.
I think
You
yeah, the fans will be reasonable, honestly.
hmm
Like,
you
yeah.
you might have a superpower. That was impressive. That was impressive. Okay, so the next section is the hot take. We know what hot takes are. This is something that will, shake things up, incite some controversy. So I'll go first on this one. So I have a general one for movies in general. I feel like Indian movies need to have an interval, right? And I feel like the intervals oftentimes have to be placed right in the middle of the duration of the movie. Oftentimes, or like if a movie is like 2 hours, 30 minutes long, the interval is like at the 1 hour, 15-minute mark, 1 hour, 20-minute mark, right? And I think this oftentimes forces directors to change their screenplay according to that, where the interval has to have a high point at that moment. I feel as that film should actually explore having an interval at maybe the 60% of the movie runtime mark, if needed, because I don't think the audience really cares if they get a break at the 1 hour, 20-minute mark or the 1 hour, 40-minute mark, in my opinion. What they want is they want a break after like a high happened, and the theater owner wants some samosas to be sold, but he doesn't really care if it's like 10 or 20 minutes this way or that way. And I think this movie could have benefited from that, because I do think they did a lot of things in the edit from the trailer to cut things down, and I think it like also impacted where the intermission was. So that's my hot take in general for movies. I'm curious to hear yours.
yeah. So I agree with what you said. It actually reminded me of a really old Rajamouli Karan Johar interview when Rajamouli was trying to release Bahubali Part 1 in Hindi. And Karan Johar talked about how the difficulty in making Indian movie that Hollywood doesn't have is the interval. Like you have to have a high moment for the interval, and then your second half has to start with the same energy, which is difficult to write, whereas Hollywood films don't have to worry about having two high moments in their films. And also, the cut to song makes it harder to write in an
Mm-hmm.
Indian movie. But yeah, I think
Definitely.
that's a good hot take. Mine is a bit more simple. I think we need to stop the part two, part three nonsense. Like, not all movies need to be two parts. Like, I feel like some movies it makes sense. Like Kalki Bahubali, the story is so big that it makes sense. But there's just too much of this like part two like wave of like Devara, Salar, and we're having to wait like 5 years to see these movies be made. Yeah.
I got you. I totally agree with you. I feel like it's a producer trying to make money on a good script play as opposed to does the script really need this? And I feel like the movie, if they kept it to one part, could actually make more money because the audience feels satisfied that like they got a full story.
Yeah,
Which I think in the movie, in this case, the audience felt being like, wait, what? Like, I
exactly.
don't think I got the full thing. So this movie will probably make less money, and then it'll probably never get the second part. Like, but a Master Part Two, I don't think that's coming
That's
out.
not coming. Like, yeah, this movie's part two. Who knows when they're gonna be free again to start filming, right?
I don't think there is gonna be a part two. That's my take. I mean, unfortunately, I don't know. But okay, so the next scene is the fan edit. So this is if you could cut a scene from the movie or you could add a scene from the movie, what would you do? And I'll let you go first because I actually kind of cheated on this and I kind of rewrote a big portion of the screenplay to go a different way because I spent a good 20 minutes thinking. I don't think I have the best answer, but I actually was like, what would I do to make this movie good on the editing room or just move the screenplay a little bit here and there? But I'll let you go first and then I'll blab on.
So I cheated a lot. I cut big portions of this movie because I thought about what would actually make this movie good and what are the best parts of this movie. So here's what I would change. I would cut the whole reincarnation and tribal leader nonsense. This movie should be about infiltrating a cartel with the added side mission of finding the older brother and returning him to India. That's what this movie should be about. Then you wouldn't have a part two.
Wow, that was great. That was super good.
Yeah.
I think that would have made a much better movie. I didn't explore that option in my suggestion, but I feel like combining hopefully what I say to what you're saying also could make sense. But I love that idea because yeah, it'll just get to the point. Because I don't think the tribal sequences were actually shot in a way that were really super well executed. Like Gautam Tinanuri, he hasn't done big action set scenes, and you can tell that that's like one of his weak points, especially in the opening sequence.
Yeah.
So that's great. So mine's gonna be kind of long here. So the screenplay changes starting when the part of the movie where Vijay enters the island for the first time. Okay, so let's say he enters the island, and we see the Vijay Devarakonda character seeing a baby being born, right? And because women from the tribe that his brother is a part of are not allowed to leave the island due to the restrictions put by the cartel, so they had to like give birth outside, and Bagashi is doing that. I think in the movie that baby belongs to a random person in the tribe, but I feel like that baby should have actually been Satyadev's second child to have more of an emotional connection. Okay, and that baby is still born sick, so it needs to stay in the hospital. So Satyadev's wife is sad that she cannot see her child and feels sad, and so does Satyadev for that same reason, right? So there's more of an emotional connect between the characters being formed rather than just like some random person. You're not changing the screenplay that much, right? So Vijay now enters the tribal area of the island with his brother. Vijay's undercover and makes sure that the smuggling mission fails. After it fails, I feel like he should have a moment that's added where he tries to convince his brother that they should leave this island and go back, right? And Satyadev should like refuse and say like, no, like these are my people, like I cannot abandon them. And Vijay is mad and says like, hey, do me and mom like not matter to you at all? Like he doesn't need to lie that his mom died. He just needs to feel like, wait, these random people matter to you more than like me and mom, or like I guess he has a wife and kids, but like these other people matter more. And then when the cartel finds out about this gold smuggling mission, they take Satyadev and beat him up, saying that he needs to find the mole who leaked the information. So Vijay feels like a personal connection to his brother being beat up by the cartel. And Suri like wants to kill the cartel leader in rage, but Satyadev stops him because it would have repercussions to the tribe. Again, Satyadev cares about the tribe, his people. And Vijay then says, I'll get the gold back because not for the people, because he cares about his brother. Okay. But he says, like, but he still hopes that his brother like leaves the tribe alone afterwards. And then he says, hey, as a part of this deal, my brother's wife should be able to see her new son. And then all of a sudden you have a bigger emotional connect, right? So during the mission, when they try to re-steal the gold, it still gets leaked to Satyadev that Vijay Devarakonda is an undercover cop. And right after they're able to re-steal the gold, Satyadev's wife is able to see her child, further growing the bond between her and Vijay's character. And right after this, Vijay and Satyadev are back at the tribe, and Vijay admits to his brother, yeah, I'm a cop. And I think this is a dangerous place for you to live. And I want to take you back and your wife. I don't care about this tribe. Like, I just want us to leave this island. And Satyadev again says, like, no, I can't do that. These people are my tribe. Like, this is my people. And if I leave them, the cartel is going to leave them. And he actually tells Vijay, I think you're causing more chaos here than good. You should leave. Okay.
Right.
And Vijay is shattered because we never get that moment where Satyadev is like, get out of here. I think
Yeah.
we should get that. Right. And right during that scene, when they're having this confrontation, the tribal people gather the both of them in a celebration in the village, and they hoist Vijay up in his arms as a new member of the tribe, and he's confused. Vijay does not raise his hand up, and Satyadev is looking at him confused as well. Like, what? They think he's like our leader, but he actually wants me to leave, right? And then later, when Satyadev's character is killed and his wife are killed brutally by the villain, Satyadev's first child is also killed because he's there, but his second child survives since he's in the hospital. Vijay not only grieves the death of his brother, but also his brother's wife and his first child because he's built a bond towards them, right?
Right.
That's not shown in the movie.
So you've written a screenplay.
I've written a screenplay, okay? And
Okay.
then Vijay feels it's his responsibility to get revenge for not just his brother, but his brother's family, because now he's connected to his brother's wife, who is part of the tribe, literally, right? Not as a savior, but because of his anger. And after he kills the villain, he gets to learn that the villain's brother is looking to get revenge already. So he knows why he needs to stay. So he's like, I got to keep my people safe. Okay. Because he doesn't know that at this point. We don't know why he's staying, but he should know there's a reason to stay. And then he goes back to get Satyadev's kid from the hospital. And the kid is next to him when he accepts his role as the new tribe leader. And he sees his brother and the kid, and their bond remains through the kid as he continues his journey to be the tribe's leader. That's a better part two ending. His brother and him are still there together.
Yeah. Yeah, I like your screenplay more, but I just want people to know that like you've incorporated existing screenplay into what you've just said. Like that's the thing about this is like they could have made these small changes that would have added maybe like an extra 4 or 5 minutes of screen time, and it wouldn't have like required much change, right? These are small tweaks to make this movie significantly better.
Exactly. Like I'm talking about like maybe 2 or 3 scenes in different sequences, and like you said, 5 more minutes of footage and a few more characters and scenes that weren't there, and then yeah, like 80. I didn't like change the spirit of the movie at all. It's just the sequencing. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Thanks for just listening to that whole
No,
thing.
no, that was good. I followed along and I was thinking like you're not changing too much.
Mm-hmm.
You're just adjusting here and there.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to do. I was like, because I feel like this movie could have been changed in a reshoot or on the editing room floor. I really believe that. So,
Yeah.
um, okay. So the next step is if Rajamouli directed this movie, what would he do? I'll let you go first.
Okay, so a few changes to the story if Rajamouli directed this. The villain would regularly visit and torment the tribal folk, like Katraju from Chhatrapati.
Okay.
Right? That would
Yep.
definitely happen.
Hmm.
Um, Also, if this had to be a two-part movie, Rajmouli would have centered this movie around three big set pieces. The interval would be a prison escape. The pre-climax would be the heist scene. The climax would be something that ends with the villain in a stronger position. That would hook the audience for the second part. That's what I think Rajmouli would do if you had to force him to do a two-part. But I think he would just make this a one-part movie. Like he fit all of RRR into one movie. Like I don't think he would do this movie in two parts, but if you had to force him to, that's what he would do.
Wow. This is why you should write for Rajmouli. I feel like every time this
I don't
question's
want to write
asked,
for Rajmouli. I just want him to keep writing.
that's true. Him and his dad. But honestly, I feel like you have a really good pulse of how he thinks. That was really, really well done. Um, I just have a small addition. Not even addition. I didn't think about any of the stuff you said. I think if I had the privilege of having a small addition to this amazing idea you had, I would just say, Vijay Devarkonda has a necklace that he wears that his brother gave him at a young age when he leaves the village. And
Yeah.
then Vijay Devarkonda just wears that during the whole movie, like in like Chhatrapati the movie, like he's got that like shell that he wears on his
Yeah,
neck,
yeah.
like something like that. Just like symbolizes their bond is pretty essential, I would
So
say.
there are like objects in this movie, like the crown, which
Hmm.
Rajmouli does. I mean, he would have done more with the crown, I think. Um, but there's also that like rock painting of the old tribal leader, which they
Hmm.
like hype up, which again would be a Rajmouli thing to do. So I feel like there are some Rajmouli tropes in here. Yeah.
I agree, but we would get so much more dramatic moments with Rajamouli doing this somehow.
Yeah.
But that's just because Rajamouli being Rajamouli. So the next is if Puri Jagannadh directed this, what would we get?
Okay. So similar to Thug Life, there are some Puriisms in this movie. Like traumatic past making a lifelong impact on a character. Classic. Like I feel like I wonder if true Puri Jagannath like invented this concept or made this a popular concept. I mean, he is one of the most influential directors in Indian cinema, whether people recognize it or not, in my opinion. Uh, Here's what he would do different. I think the tribal folk would have way more screen time. The heroine would have been a tribal character. Also, there would have been a item song or a mass song with the tribal folk.
And then Ali would be like one of the tribal folk
Yeah, Ali
members,
would be one of
and
the
he would
tribal leaders.
and he would just be making like bad jokes the whole time.
Yeah, basically. Truly influential.
I think in Puri Jagannadh's world, there wouldn't even be a brother character. The kid character himself, Vijay Devarakonda, would kill his dad and then run away to this village where he grows up to find out that he's actually destined to be the leader of the tribe.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
he
perfect.
he like, we don't need this brother stuff. It's about this
Yeah.
random kid who has trauma at a young age. It's
Perfect.
always about a random kid that has trauma at a young age.
Perfect.
So the next one is the most rewatchable scene. I'll go first on this one. For me, the most rewatchable scene is when Vijay Devarakonda sees all of the dead bodies of the tribe members after the villain kills them at the tribe's home. And he's like walking on that beach and that sand, and he like sees some dead bodies, and then he goes to see the dead body of his brother too. I love that his character doesn't just in this moment, Vijay Devarakonda doesn't overact and scream for no reason. He doesn't break down in tears, from what I remember, but instead he like holds the brother, like he holds Satyadev's hand, who's already dead, and just jokes almost that like he should have listened to him and left the village when he had the chance. Which I think that's just like another good piece of Gautam Tinunuri writing. Like the way he handled that is just really well done. I feel I really like that scene. I think that's the most rewatchable scene.
So I had the same scene.
Okay, we're
Yeah.
on the same page.
We're on the same page.
We're on the same page here. Okay, perfect.
It's either that or the shipyard dock scene with the two
Mhm.
brothers. Like, yeah.
That's the core of the movie, right? And that's why we also like the Anantene song. That's the heart of the movie, right? So, WTF moment. What was the moment that was just like, what is going on? I think we might have the same one here, but I'll let you go first.
So there's not many. This is a pretty like centered and grounded movie. I think the two moments where we both looked at each other in the theater was when like two RPGs were dodged.
Mm-hmm.
That's like all, that's the only like WTF moment I
Mm-hmm.
have. But what about you?
I think you alluded to this other WT moment early on where the interval scene when the village tribe puts Vijay Devarakonda on their shoulder and they're cheering him on for getting the gold back. Vijay Devarakonda like raises his hand and he's like, I'm a part of the tribe.
Yeah,
But it actually is confusing because his character doesn't care about the tribe at all, or he doesn't empathize with their struggle. So it would have made more sense if he kept his hands down and acted more confused, like Mahesh Babu and Kaleja, where he's conflicted on what he feels. Like they feel like he's a savior, but he's just like, I just want my brother back. Like that.
yeah.
So I think that was my WTF moment. So the next segment is the Samosa break moment. I'll go first on this. I actually don't think there's a scene in this movie that I feel like I could remove. To be honest, like I had a tough time picking this one. For me, there's not one that really stands out. What about for you?
I agree. I couldn't pick any. There are no samosa break moments. There's no songs in the movie. Like the screenplay is tight.
Mm-hmm.
There's no
I agree with you.
samosa break opportunities. You get an interval. So there you
You do
go.
get an interval. You do get an interval. Okay, so the next section is if this movie was a dish, what would it be? I'll let you go first.
Okay, this was tough. I feel like this is always the hardest segment because
I
it
agree.
requires more creativity than any of the other segments. But here's what I came up with, okay? This is like a plate of chili chicken. The concept is great. The taste is great. Visually it looks appealing. But halfway through eating it, you're like, this just feels like an appetizer. Where's the real meal?
Mm, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. I really like that. That's a good analogy. Um, for me, I went non-Indian with my food. I said this movie is like a lasagna. Okay, when you want to make a lasagna, you want to build it layer by layer. But in the case of this movie, Gautam Tinanuri inconsistently decided to use sometimes pasta as the base layer, sometimes meat, and then sometimes a sauce. So it's got all the right ingredients, but there's nothing properly holding it together. And the sequencing, which is the analogy for the screenplay in this case, in the lasagna, was just not done in the right order. So the idea sounds great. Who doesn't love lasagna? But the execution in making this lasagna was just off. So
Yeah, I agree. That's good.
mhm. I
Lasagna,
think
layered. Yeah, that makes
that's
sense.
a we had some good analogies there. I think you did a good job. So should you watch this movie in the theater or wait for OTT?
I think I'm a little conflicted here. I would say watch on OTT.
I would say that as well. But if you want to like support a movie that has like a novel idea, like go watch it in the theater. But yeah, OTT is not a bad as well. I struggle with this, but I think the next question, I'm curious: is this a rewatchable movie?
Yeah, I think I will end up rewatching this when it comes on streaming because there's parts of it that are good. I'm genuinely curious if I have a second opinion on certain things. Um, Now that there's no like surprises, right?
Mm-hmm. I agree. The interesting thing is, like yesterday when I left the theater, I was like, I'm not going to rewatch this. But today I woke up and I was like, man, there's something about this movie, which I think is the brother sentiment and the good acting, that like, yeah, I want to rewatch this. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind rewatching this. I think this movie has like a good place in my heart for like some kind of good, like, it has a place in my heart that I'm like, oh, that was a good attempt. Like, I appreciate the effort. Overall rating for the movie out of 10.
I give it a 6 out of 10. This was a decent movie. I think
Mhm.
it's really disappointing. And we both came out of the theater disappointed, like not really talking because we're like, this, I think we're on the same page here with a little tweaks. And I think if they just let Gautam Tenuri make the movie he wants to make, which I feel like they might have influenced his decision making a little bit, like the producer and maybe even Vijay. I think this could have been an 8 or a 9 out of 10. Like
Mhm.
truly, like one of the best Telugu movies in the last decade. If they just made these tweaks, that's why we came out of the theater so confused. We're like, the first 2 hours of the movie, we're like, this is great.
Mhm.
The last 45 minutes, we're like,
What's
man,
happening?
they could have. If this was a 3 hour movie, maybe it could have been better. Like if they just showed us more.
Mhm. And for me, the first 25 minutes of the movie were so good. Like
Yeah.
before he enters the island, so crisp. The writing was really good. You know, things I haven't seen in movies before. So I gave it a 6.5 out of 10. I'm with you on the vibes, but I agree with you. It could have been like an 8, 8.5, a 9 if he just landed it. It could have been bigger than Jersey. It could have been a huge hit.
Yeah.
So
This movie is much better than Devara. Like, there's no
agreed.
comparison here.
Agreed on that.
Yeah.
So there you have it, folks. Wrapping up the Kingdom podcast. I'm glad we went out and saw it, and we're looking forward to catching you guys on the next episode. Hopefully, coming soon. We'll be dropping an episode for Cooley. So until then, we'll see you guys in a little bit.